Our next stop is Shell Mound Recreation Area, which has Nickajack Cave located just across from it. So we decided to rig the dinghy back up and tow it behind us as we left Chattanooga. Before leaving Irwin Marine Riverfront, they did have a fuel dock with pump out, so we wanted to make sure that we stopped by there and pumped out the head. That's not something we want to have to worry about taking care of down the road. So we took care of that. But as we were leaving the dock, we actually lost our ball fender that we use going through the locks. So otherwise, this was a really successful operation. We finally kind of got our footing under us and did it right, but then we lost the ball leaving. No big deal, we thought. You know, easy come, easy go. We'll get another fender. But we had no idea what was really in store for us that day. As we left, I went ahead and helmed and let Ray start bringing the fenders up on board. Typically, that's something that I would do, but since we were out in the main channel and there was, you know, the possibility for barge traffic and things, we kind of got up to speed and he went forward to pull those fenders up. As we were leaving Chattanooga, we came across the stretch of interstate where I-24 and I-75 meet. And it was a really cool moment for us because this is a strip of road that we've traveled half a dozen times or so between Sevierville and heading down to Destin to visit Connor. And we've always looked at it from the road, but this time we were getting to see it from the river. And the river did not disappoint. It was odd to be so far west, past Chattanooga, and this was the most mountainous area that we had been in to date. Nickajack Lake is absolutely beautiful. The mountains are gorgeous, the waterway is gorgeous, and there was this really beautiful, big private school as we were coming out of Chattanooga as well, and that was really incredible to come by. But then things got weird.
So we're in the suck?
We are in the suck.
No.
You didn't seem to suck too much.
Now I don't, is that you or you can't drive or that's the suck?
Yeah, I think
oh, look.
There's a little.
See the rocks over there? Yeah. Okay. So
they pulled us.
Yeah. So I guess this was kind of a shallow rapids area.
Rapids is how it had been described in every guidebook that I had read. One word I hadn't come across was whirlpools, which we later found out may be a more accurate description for what we experienced. Looking back at the water now on the video, you can definitely see little areas where it seems to eddy or flow differently than the typical current of the river. It was just a little bit after this that Ray decided to go downstairs to use the restroom, and I took over helming for a few minutes when I had a really odd experience.
Okay, well, just past the house, so that must have been what it was. But yeah, it dropped down to 106 feet and pushed the bow hard to starboard.
The water depth in the channel in this area was moving along right around 43.5 feet when all of a sudden it dropped to 106 feet and the bow of the boat swung around hard to starboard. I must have gone through one of these little whirlpools, and it was a little bit terrifying, to be honest. The boat was uncontrollable until we came out on the other side, and then she responded to the helm. Of course, at the time, I didn't really know what had happened, and the area was just becoming prettier and prettier by the minute, so I was lulled back into enjoying the river ride. Shortly after making it through the series of rapids, we came to Raccoon Mountain, a really interesting spot with a 260-foot deep reservoir lake on top of the mountain. This lake is created by a system of pipes and turbines and generators that pump water from the river system up to the top of the mountain. And then, when they need electricity, they release that water back down the mountain to generate electricity. It really looked like a pretty impressive facility, and we were interested to see all of the different areas as we went by. You could actually kind of see into some of the almost cave-like system where they must pump the water up. Interestingly enough, as I was going to make this video, the video actually showed up ahead of where we went through the suck, the skillet, the pot, and the pan, which were the series of rapids. And for a long time, I couldn't figure out why that was. I wondered maybe if my charts were wrong, if I was remembering it incorrectly. But what happened was, as we crossed this area, we must have crossed into Central Time as well. So my phone went back and saved all of this about an hour before, when really it was happening right after we'd gone through the rapids. It was another kind of strange event. This part of the river was sort of beginning to feel like the Bermuda Triangle of the Tennessee River. Lots of people refer to it as the Grand Canyon of the Tennessee River, but I think we're going to go with Bermuda Triangle for sure. After passing the Raccoon Mountain facility, two things began to happen. One was that the topography just continued to become prettier and prettier. Even the foliage in this area was changing. So it was really amazing just to continue to look around and see the wonders of nature here. But another thing that I noticed was that I was starting to smell diesel fuel really strongly. I took a look in our bilges and there was definitely some fluid in there, but I couldn't really make out that it was anything bad, and it didn't smell terrible. Of course, we had added a little bit of Dawn to our bilges previously just to make sure that it didn't get stinky in case we did have anything gross in there. But I was smelling it really strongly by our companionway steps. As the scenery continued to grow more and more beautiful, the smell of diesel continued to grow stronger and stronger. I finally went down and pulled the companionway steps out a bit where I could really smell it strongly. I asked Ray to have a look, and he said that we possibly had a small leak, but didn't really feel like anything was wrong. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that we shouldn't be smelling diesel that strongly. So I went down and took a look at our fuel gauge, which was reading empty. Since we had only used about 3.5 gallons out of our 12-gallon tank at that point, I knew something was wrong. So I sent Ray forward to get some extra diesel as I helmed. And then, of course, we saw a barge coming around the next corner. From a distance, it was actually hard to tell it was a barge, but I kind of stayed in the center of the channel because I didn't want to get too far off course in case our fuel ran out. We got a bit of a nasty gram from the barge about not veering far enough off, but it was just what we had to do in the moment to make sure that we could stay safe. So Ray refueled our tank, and the fuel gauge showed that we were back up close to full, and we decided to continue to trek on and try to figure out a good place to stop. It didn't look like we were going to make it to our Shell Mound recreation destination after all. The good news was that we saw Hales Bar Dam Marina was nearby, so we decided that we would stop there. The bad news was that shortly after we put our fuel in, we saw a little bit of smoke come from under the companionway stairs, and then the engine did cut off. Once again, our little outboard came to the rescue. We were able to drop it in and motor the rest of the way to Hales Bar Dam Marina. It was an interesting trip there. We had to go down almost to the bridges, nearly a quarter of a mile past the marina, then turn back to come back to it to avoid the derelict barges and submerged railroad bridge there. In fact, it looked like there might be all kinds of submerged things around the marina. We were happy to have a dock to tie up to and a place to stay to figure out our engine issues. We saved it for celebration, but I decided to break it open after the engine debacle. And parfum, of course, is supposed to be sweet, and it turned out a little sour. But it's been the kind of day where I think I'm probably going to finish this glass anyway. When we opened the engine compartment, it was plain to see what was causing the diesel smell. There was diesel slung all over the inside of the companionway steps and a load of it down in our engine compartment. There was also lots of diesel in our bilges that we had to pump out with our canister pump and sort out where we were going to safely dump that.
What is it? I think there's a tiny crack in this fuel line right here.
And there was. We had a crack in the high pressure fuel line coming from our injector pump to the injector housing. So because this was a hard metal line, we knew it was not going to be easy to replace. We knew it was probably bad, but we didn't really realize how bad or how difficult it was going to be to replace. So we counted our blessings to be in a safe place, to be docked up for the night, to have access to showers, and we decided to get to work on that fuel line. Of course, that's how we felt about it the first week. Things are feeling a little bit different now. We'll let you know what happens. Thanks for watching.